Hey guys, Guy here. 49ers beat the Browns. Brock Purdy did something that you need to notice. It didn't stand out in the numbers. And if you saw it during the game, you might have noticed it. I'll get to that in a second. But I think the first thing today is a pat on the back to Kyle Shanahan, whose 49ers are now 9-4. Not all 9-4s are created equal. Not all schedules are created equal. We know that. But you look around the NFL and with games still going on today, you think about the Rams lost today. They're 9-3. You've split with them. Just some of the jobs that have been done. Green Bay's 8-3. Really, we'll see. They may win, they may lose. Right now, as they're playing, they're 7-4. So if the Bills beat the Steelers, they'll be 8-4. You'll know whether or not that happened by the time you're at least listening to this podcast. But the point is, like, those are the teams with similar records to the 49ers who've lost Bosa, who've lost Warner. Watching the thing unfold, I think one of the early first month conversations was, can they play their way into being a real contender in the NFC? And unfortunately, now that we're, to December, basically, the answer is, yeah, they could have with Fred Warner and with Nick Bosa healthy. Those guys aren't healthy. And so the question becomes, like, what are they? And with the Rams losing today, Chicago's now in first place, both teams 9-3. There's going to be this discussion about, can the Niners win the division, right? That if the Rams win and are 10-2, that conversation probably ends going into December. But anyway, that's not, to me, what today's about. Today's about, I thought Shanahan had the mindset coming into the game. He knew it'd be a long day. They run that incredible use check kind of lead. Then he runs through the B gap to run a route and makes a 22-yard catch, whatever it was. And then it didn't, second down didn't work, third down didn't work. They had to punt. They took the ball first. I know Tim Kawakami's been trying to get Kyle Shanahan to take the ball first. I don't know if he was trying to take it first to score or just because he wanted the decision on the wind in the second half. But either way, he took it first. They flipped the field. But there was a shot of him on the sideline, and you could just see in Kyle's demeanor was chill, was not freaking. I think he expected it to be the type of game that it was. And in the end, Jim Schwartz did a lot of really good. Like, I made a note during the game, probably midway third quarter. Does Jim Schwartz know half of the plays? It felt like half the time Jim Schwartz knew it was coming. A little end around, the Christian McCaffrey pass play. There were things happening that just had no chance. But you don't need every play to work. And Kyle Shanahan had enough of them work. I thought the third down run play in the goal line for Brock Purdy was one of the great moments of the game, one of the great Kyle Shanahan moments of the year, to outsmart Jim Schwartz on that play. And for all the plays that Schwartz won, and he won several, the 49ers won third down. And that was critical. Brock Purdy won third down. And most importantly, the 49ers won third down in the red zone on goal-to-go situations. They were perfect on touchdowns. Well, I guess not perfect. They ended up kicking that field goal at the end of the game. But because when Brock scrambled and threw the ball away. But they had the McCaffrey touchdown on the first third and goal. They had the Purdy run on the second third and goal. They had the Jennings touchdown catch on the next third and goal. Didn't get the 2-point. But they were very good on third down and goal situations, inside the 10, inside the 5. And that's what we've been waiting for. Now, look, these are the Browns. And the Browns aren't good. But the Browns are well coached. The Browns are different than some other bad teams that you might face over the course of a year. You're lucky that, not lucky. I mean, yeah, lucky. They're a bad team. Part of the schedule is you're going to play quarterbacks. You're going to play quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders, who was fine. He was good. Like, people may forget this. Everyone gets painted a certain way on Shedeur, or you have one take and it sounds negative. You're like, you must be negative. I liked him more than some other guys coming out in the draft. Like, I liked him more than Tyler Shuck, put it that way, coming out in the draft. I understood why he fell, though. And I don't think it was some great conspiracy why he fell. But I liked him more than Tyler Shuck because I just thought he had a little something to him. Here's a crazy take. Not the worst place in the world because of the coach. Today was the type of game that Shedeur needs to play. Just chill. It doesn't need to be a big take about him every game. Young quarterbacks don't need that. They just need consistency, improvement, some success to build confidence, all that kind of stuff. So it was fine. But, like, first series of the game, he misses, and it's a windy day. Brock missed. Luke Farrell in the end zone. But Jair Brown gets beaten. Who knows? Maybe it's a touchdown if Shedeur Sanders hits the throw and he doesn't. So that's who you were playing today. You had to be better than them. But, it's so easily after the fact, you go, oh, these are the Browns. None of it mattered. But going in, we know how the Niners have played in Cleveland, and it hasn't been good. It's been since Montana. It hasn't been good with Kyle and Brock there the last time, the Jake Moody miss after Brock rolled him down the field. But here's the thing about Brock that I teased at the start. He now the final box score 16-29, 168, a touchdown, no picks. You go, what was that? Well, if you watched it, it was a little everything, some throwaways in there to make that percentage lower. But he was excellent on third down today. A game after he really struggled against Carolina. There are moments in a 26-8 game against a bad team that you forget were pressure moments because in the end it feels like what was supposed to happen happened. But he had to make several big throws when the game was in the balance on third down. And he was 8 of 11 with 6 first downs and plus a touchdown on third down passes. He also took a sack. But 8 of 11 on third down passing situations. And of those 8, 7 converted, 1 for a touchdown, 6 for first downs. Jennings had 7 yards on 3rd and 6, 7 yards on 3rd and 7, 13 yards on 3rd and 11. McCaffrey had 12 yards on 3rd and 8 and 8 yards on 3rd and 5. Kittle had 14 yards on a 3rd and 8. Pearsall had 13 yards. On a 3rd and 10. So that's 7 catches for 64 yards, 6 first downs, a touchdown on third down. That is excellent. And to me, if you think like, why did the 49ers win? To me, reason number one is Kyle Shanahan kept his cool and Brock Purdy converted third down throws. The clutch throws that you need to be watching it to see. Pearsall, at the end of the half, are they going to go down at the half 8-7? Are they going to go to the locker room 8-7 with Cleveland getting the ball first? First down, out of bounds throw to Jennings. Second down doesn't hit McCaffrey. So 3rd and 10. Great route by Pearsall. Great protection. He only got sacked once today. And it was by, of course, Myles Garrett. Great protection. And then he throws the ball. Great throw to Ricky Pearsall. Windy day, cold day. It was hard. Without the rain, the wind's a little hard to tell how much of a factor it is. But Trent Green and Kevin Harlan, we're talking like it was a factor. So that was a big play. He had another big Jennings throw on third down. So he was, believe it or not, and you don't hear this word much in a 26-8 game, but I thought Brock was really clutch today. I woke up today just going, oh my God, I'm all for the ongoing quarterback talk. I think if you've been watching or listening to this, I got no problem with it. But if the Niners had lost to Shedeur Sanders today, there was no way for it to look good for Brock. And, Shedeur is its own other thing that can be a little premature and exhausting. And I didn't have the energy for that. Your boy did not. I was like, that thing just gets off the rails so fast. So, I didn't want that. But, I didn't know what it would look like. Because, it was not a playoff team, but these are playoff conditions. And you'll wonder, are the Niners going to be in Chicago in the playoffs, right? And it was good to see Brock make some big throws, run around a little bit. If I were to nitpick, I'd say his decision to throw it into the end zone on that last red zone possession where they end up with the Matt Gay field goal after he ran around, that was a bad decision. And he got, I guess he could argue, well, I threw it it wasn't going to get picked. I was thrown to the sideline kind of out of bounds. It was a bad decision because it was a risky throw in a 2-score game when you're in field goal range, and a field goal basically ends the game. So I didn't love that. That was in the category of learning how to play on the line. That felt reckless. That felt like a bad decision for a guy that makes a lot of great decisions. But he made a lot of great decisions today and a lot of great plays, and you're not going to be perfect. And, additionally, McCaffrey, it wasn't a great running game for Christian. He 20 for 53 at the half. He was 6 for 9 rushing. So not great, but those anyway. That's one huge reason. I think the top reason is Kyle kept his cool, really well coached game, in what's been a very well coached season for Shanahan, and Brock was clutch. second time in a short amount of time. How many weeks? What week was the Arizona game? So second time in 3 weeks that the 49ers have had the opening score set up by a Sky Moore return. There were a lot of people, and I remember I said this. I said, maybe I'm being passive here. Everyone was crushing Sky Moore week 3. I think it was week 3 or week 4. I think it was week 3. Week 3 against Arizona. When he caught a punt at the 9. You're like, does this guy know what he's doing? I was like, I don't know. The ball was coming from the shade to the sun. It's not great, but been here. I didn't think it was. I think he's been pretty solid. Well, I think I've been proven right on Sky Moore. He's been better than solid. And for a team that not has to play from ahead, but is so advantaged when they are playing from ahead, especially with the lack of pass rush that they get. Play from ahead into the second half, and all of a sudden Cleveland Ferrell's got 2 sacks. But Sky Moore sets up the touchdown with the kickoff against Arizona. Now he sets up the touchdown with the big punt return against the Browns. The Niners still. I'll admit selfishly, if I could be transparent here, I've been watching these Niner games that I haven't been filling in for Greg Papa on, going, is Sky Moore going to return a kick or a punt? Because every week you go into the game going, all right, it's been 5,200 days since the Niners had a punt return for a touchdown. Ted Ginn against Ted Ginn twice, but anyway. And X amount of days since the Niners had a kick return for a touchdown. So if Sky Moore has broken those 2 the last 3 weeks, I'm like, oh God, is he going to do it here? Because I'd love to see it in person. But anyway, Niners hit the bye, and I'll look forward to calling their final regular season games back on radio on KNBR, filling in for Greg here in December after the bye. So excited about that news. My broadcast news, which is not newsworthy, really, but you're here, so I share. But Sky Moore, special teams, excellent. I don't know if you saw on the sideline, as soon as the game ended and Mac Jones was jumping around, they cut to a shot of Christian McCaffrey. And Kevin Harlan kind of went through McCaffrey's line. And Brant Boyer, the special teams coach, was standing right there. And the clock hit 0. And Christian says to him something to the effect of, like, great job today. And it really was. The 49ers special teams has been, one of the great offseason decisions, and maybe you give Robert Saleh credit with it, but hiring Brant Boyer early on with Jake Moody and some coverage bust, you wondered would it work. It has worked. It's been really good. Take advantage of mistakes and don't make them. I thought when the Browns had to punt deep in their own territory to midfield and Sky Moore caught the ball at like the 50. I thought in that spot, don't return it. Just catch it, go down. The only thing that can end this game, that can turn this game back on for the Browns, is mistakes. But he was solid with the ball, and Darrell Luter recovered them off. Like they've been really good. So that offseason decision was excellent. 4th down stops, too big, especially the early one. Too big 4th down stop. Have the Browns not been watching the 49ers? I know all these guys watch each other's tape. Even though he calls the offense, so he watches the defense, he still, the offensive coordinators also watch other offense, especially Stefanski and Shanahan. These guys watch each other because they're running the same stuff or variations of it. Lining 44 up, we love Juice, and hopefully the ribs are okay. But the line them up behind the center thing has not worked a ton for the Niners. I don't think. Maybe I'll see Juice in the locker room and be like, no, man, it does work. But it didn't work for the Browns. I don't like that play very much. Although I like it when other teams run it. So the 4th down stops, the tackling, there were points in the game where you wondered. I think the guy that right now that if you think about the Niners defense, who flashes the most, Malik Mustafa to me, and Keon White, who is flashed on multiple plays. Malik Mustafa, it was hard to tell initially. It was like 93's in there, 92's in there. 99, CJ West was holding his ground in the middle on the first 4th down, but it was Malik Mustafa who came flying in and made that tackle. This game did remind me how much I like Carson Schlesinger. Wasn't available to the Niners. Browns took him at pick 33, coming out of UCLA. Long chat after the game between Kyle Shanahan and Jim Schwartz. Did you catch that? What was that? It was a long chat, I don't know if Kyle was waiting for Stefanski Hadn't seen him yet. Good mood. Good, Kyle's in a good mood. Really centered, I thought today. Um, but long chat, and you just wonder. I have to wonder. What's Jim Short saying? Kyle, hey man, I've been here a long time, and as much as I like going toe to toe with you every 2 years, if Salah leaves, give me a call. Like Stefanski, he knows. He'd let me. I don't know. Guys don't let guys go, but I don't know what Jim Schwartz's contract situation is. But that was I took note of a very long chat between Shanahan and Schwartz. A lot of mutual respect clearly there. His contract situation notwithstanding, if Robert Saleh leaves, the obvious replacement would be Gus Bradley, who's on the staff. But not just for now, for the future. I just filed that one away. Jim Schwartz and Kyle Shanahan having a nice little chat. Rams lost today. I think the first reaction, I was watching that game on the side, is like, oh my God, wow. In the end, in terms of a divisional race, will it really benefit the 49ers? I'm skeptical. I still think the Rams are the most likely team to win the NFC, especially when you look at their upcoming schedule. They may not lose a game the rest of the way. They obviously, now you would have said that going into this game, but sometimes losing these games helps you win the next ones. They play at Carolina. Excuse me. They play at Arizona. Then they host Detroit. Then they go to Seattle. They go to Atlanta. And then they play Arizona again. So they get the Cardinals twice. No better time to play Arizona than December. That's when the Cardinals are at their most cardinally. And, I think they'll beat Detroit at home. So Detroit's got a real shot to miss the playoffs here. Obviously, the Niners play the Bears, and the Bears look very good. They're on a bye. That game is still a long way away. I don't hate a youngish, kind of inexperienced Bears team being in first place when they play the Niners. I think it's a good setup. Like, I'd be rooting for Chicago to be the first place team in the NFC. From that, just from that standpoint, from that theory. However, if Chicago is the first place team in the NFC when they play the 49ers, it'll be more than just a young team that happens to be in first place. They started the year 0-2. They've only lost one game since, so that means they've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 of 10. Is that no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they've won 9 of 10. I think what's interesting about them coming up is their schedule. They just beat Philly. Now they're going to play at Green Bay. Then they're going to play Cleveland. They're going to play Green Bay again, and then they're going to play the Niners. So, you figure they beat the Browns and they split with the Packers. Then they could still be in first place. But I think they won't be because I don't think the Rams are going to lose between now and then. And so I think the Bears will slip back down. Not that it matters. I mean, ultimately, who would you rather play in the playoffs? We start thinking about like playoff seeding and how things match up from a Niners standpoint. I think you'd rather play Chicago than the Rams. I think you'd rather play Chicago than the Eagles. But, that would be you play the Rams, you're in a dome. Temperature's nice. You play Chicago, it's going to be frigid. But I think it'd be fun. Like Soldier Field would be cool and seeing that team. Anyway, that's a long way away. It's incredible what Chicago's done. It's really incredible. By the way, Niners, not a conference game today, but 8-2 in the conference, by far and away the best conference record of any team in the NFL. Nobody else, at least as of entering the afternoon, is there. Philly 7-3. So Bears in first place. You had your weird Matthew Stafford interception games. So weird, but we'll see. We'll see what the Bears. By the way, I didn't mention this. After the Bears play the 49ers, they then play the Lions. So long way to go for them, but they've made themselves like a real story, and you really love that game now. That game was, I think their Packer game. I don't know if that's been announced. That might be prime time as well the week before they play. No, it's not. Okay, I had this on the schedule as an when you look at the official NFL site, 5 or 8:20. But that game right now I see listed as a 1:25. So I hadn't thought about that, so I haven't dug into it. and looked at that schedule. But anyway, Niners' next opponent, Titans, got blown out by the Jags today. Niners' next opponent, the Colts, lost to the Texans, who are playing good football at home. The quarterback, Daniel Jones, is dealing with a fibula, fractured fibula, tibia. Um, I think it's a reminder, and we'll see with Seattle as time goes on. I said it a while ago. I've said it a few times, so I just repeat it. I mean, they're beating the Vikings right now, 10-0, but seasons are long, and at some point, the Colts look like the best team, and the Seahawks look like the best team, and the Rams look like the best team, and seasons are long. And I think with Indianapolis, there was a lot of like the resurrection of Daniel Jones and all this stuff, and teams lose games, so I'm not gonna. There's not some whole reframing of a team based on a loss to a Houston team that's playing well. But I just don't think the Colts are the juggernaut that for a moment in time people, I'll say, acted like they were. I think sometimes people know better and act like, oh man, is Indy that, they've lost 3 or 4 now. Like, come on. Like, we know better. You need like a month and a half. You're like, oh, Daniel Jones. This happened a few years ago with Geno. People are like, oh, Geno, is he the MVP? Like, oh, let's just. By the way, and been proven right on that one. I thought Seattle absolutely did the right thing letting Geno go, and I thought the Raiders were kind of nuts. I understood it, just trying to get like a baseline. And you know what? The Geno defenders would say the Raiders' offensive line stinks, and those people would be right. Those people would be right. The time of year you start looking, is Tennessee going to get the number 1 pick again? It's trending that way. I mean, Tennessee plays the Niners, the Chiefs, the Saints, the Jags. So they may not win again. They get the Chiefs and the Saints at home. Maybe they win the Saints game. Well, they play the Browns next. That'll be a good one. All right. Kids screaming upstairs. I'm down once again, for those of you listening to the podcast, I'm down in the cellar studio, in the basement. The office, the main office studio is directly below the baby's room. Although the baby's not in his room right now. He is just owning this house at the moment. Owning it. He has made it his, which is good. Want him to be comfortable to express himself. So anyway, all right. On that note, what's going on this week? More shows? Definitely more shows. Niners on a bye, very late bye. I will be doing a college basketball game on Sunday. For those of you that are interested, it'll be Oregon, UCLA on Peacock. Get your Peacock subscriptions. Oregon, UCLA basketball on Saturday. And then be back on KNBR for 49ers Radio, filling in for Greg Papa the following week for the Niner game. And excited about it. This is my first game Saturday since the baby was the week before the baby was born. So getting out of the house a little bit. Okay. YouTube, podcast. Appreciate y'all, and we'll talk soon. Later.